Hello, everyone. Welcome to Tuesday Night Live with independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator Teresa Harper. I'm located in Oregon in the US, and I am about 2 minutes late because I went live on YouTube again. Oh my goodness, did I get lost about where I'm supposed to be and when? So, I figured it out, and now we're here. So let's see who's on, and then we'll get started. Let's see. We can, oh good, at least I can find the live easy here because I went live in the wrong spot, I guess. Excuse me. Throat. All right, let's see what happened. So we are going to, I'm just going to give you your final reminder. This runs out on October 31st, and you can join Stampin' Up! And choose your $125 worth of products and pay only $35 with no shipping. Or there is a second option where you can do $99 and get up to $189 worth of product of your choosing. You can't go one penny over. So if you're going to do that, make sure that your list is good. Do your math. Get in the best deal you can get. And I won't be reminding you of that again anymore. Hello, Jennifer. Hello, Cynthia. Did you guys hear I went live on YouTube? And then I went, wait a minute, it's Tuesday. Because I looked at the clock and went, oh my goodness, I'm on the wrong platform again. Anyway, we are going to be using Festive Friends tonight. I've got 2 cards for you. And then you'll want to come back to YouTube on Thursday because I have a 3D project for you for that. Okay, another treat box I put together. So anyway, we are going to be using Festive Friends, and our images tonight pretty much are going to be these 2. So let's go ahead and get started. And I'm going to start by grabbing a piece of basic weight. And I'm going to throw it in here on my platform here. Let me get all these things out of the way. Throw it in here on my platform. And oops, I just tapped my thing, sorry. Oops. I'm going to stick this in here. And then I'm going to do my stamping for the 2 projects, the 2 character stampings right away. I'm going to do them both at the same time, so I only have to do it once. Okay. So I'm just going to put these in my platform, my Stamparatus. Get that ready. I'm going to grab some Memento Tuxedo Black ink. I'm going to ink those up. And I'm doing them on the stamping platform so I can make sure that I get a nice, crisp image. Nice and dark. Okay. And this way I can stamp it a second time. And then I know I get them nice and dark. If you own the Stamparatus, which isn't available anymore, putting your silicone mat in there when you're using these red rubber images does help a lot. Okay, so let's go ahead and I'm going to set those aside because that's the only thing we're doing in black. Okay, and then I'm just going to put these away because we won't need those images again because we've already stamped them. All right, so let's bring this in and let's go ahead and color our Santa because that's going to be the one we're doing for our first card. And we are going to use these colors. So we've got light basic black, light cherry cobbler, the real red combo, light gray granite, and ivory. Oh, and we need flirty flamingo. And that will be in my other one. We need this too because Santa has got to have rosy cheeks. And a rosy nose, right? So we're going to do that. And then I'm going to go with my light cherry cobbler. And I'm going to flick in some color to make his hat look a little round. There. And then I'm going to go to the dark real red. And flick in a little more color. And then I'm going to finish with my light. And that's really going to make that hat look. Good grief. What's up with the throat all of a sudden? Okay, so now we're going to do his coat. I'm doing the light cherry cobbler again, where there would be shadows. Okay. And then I'm going to go to the dark real red, go over that cherry cobbler a bit. Okay, and then we'll finish that off with the light real red. And that really gives us some depth of color there. Now, do you necessarily have to do 3 colors? Absolutely not. You can just color it in with one if that's what you want to do, and it will still look fabulous. Okay, so then I'm going to use the light basic black for what I think are his boots and his gloves, or his pants, whatever it is, they're black, so we're going with it. Okay, well actually his pants would be red, but I'm going with his boots. Okay, so we've got that. Now we need to take and do some skin. So I'm going to take the ivory and I'm going to color in the skin here. And then just a bit on his nose there, and don't forget his ears. Okay. Now we need to make his beard and stuff look a little more natural. So we're just going to take some light gray granite. And I'm going to flick in a little bit where there would be a shadow. And apparently I need to do something with that end. It's not really, the ink is not flowing, let's say. And I'm going to put just a little bit up here and a little bit over here, and where there would be a shadow from the pom-pom there. And then we're pretty much going to call that good. Okay? And then we need to use some Wink of Stella, of course. And I'm going to put just a little bit of Wink of Stella on the tip of his hat there. Oh, and his eyes, how they twinkle. So we need some twinkling eyes. All right. Now there's a die to cut that out. That's in this bundle. And then we also need some trees. Okay. So in the die set, we're going to cut out this tree from some designer series paper. We're going to cut out this tree from some two-tone old olive cardstock. You could use regular. I cut it with a two-tone because I thought I was going to be able to rough it up, but that didn't work very good. And then we're going to cut, so let's get our paper. We're using the Season of Elegance. Okay. So from this sheet of paper, I'm going to cut this tree. Okay. And from the sheet of paper that looks like this, we're going to cut one of these tags. Okay. We're also going to cut one of these tag shapes in basic beige. And through the magic of television, here's our basic beige tag. Here's our designer series paper tag, our Santa, and tree one out of old olive two-tone. And then this is the second tree. And notice how it cuts out the center. You'll want to save that center piece. Okay, we're going to glue that back in. All right. So let's go ahead and set these pieces aside. These are all of our die cut pieces. So we're going to set those aside for the moment. Okay. And then we're going to bring out our card base, which is Mossy Meadow, and this is 1 inch shorter than your normal card base. So this piece is cut at 5.5 by 7.5. We score it at 1 inch, and when I score this one, because of the way it's going to work, okay, we're going to put this one in, we're going to flip it to the reverse side, and we're going to score at 1 inch. Then I'm going to flip it and score at 4.25. Okay, that way I have a valley a valley here, and I have a mountain here. And you'll see why in a minute. So we're going to take and fold it at the 4.25 inch so that we have this piece. And we are not going to actually fold this, the 1 inch score. We're just going to leave that score in place, and it will all make sense in a few minutes. Okay, so we've got that. Hello, Laura. And then we've got a piece of that DSP, and this is that one that has the gold on one side, and no, we're not going to use it because it just was too much. So I'm using this, and this piece is 3 inches by 5.25. Then we've got a piece of that same designer series paper in the cherry cobbler, and we're going to be using the foiled side, and this piece is 7/8 of an inch by 5.25. And then we have our inside piece, And trust me, you want to do your inside piece before you go too far. So what we're going to do is we're going to put on this piece first. I'm going to put on my cherry cobbler piece. Whoa, that's a lot. That glue came out fast. We'll wipe some of that off. It's too much. And I don't want it getting everywhere. So I'm going to open up my card. This one's going to go right here, and I'm going to stack this up right next to that score line so that I have an even border on 3 sides. Okay. And then when I close this piece will butt up right next to the designer series paper. Okay. Now that we have that in there, let's take our inside piece. Again, this one is 3 inches by 5 1/4. I've pre-stamped it with a sentiment from Words for the Season. This is pretty much my go-to for inside sayings at the moment. And I'm just going to put this in here. And when I put this in here, it's going to leave a nice border on all 4 sides. So I'm just going to try to get the top and the bottoms to line up with each other here. Try and make sure those are even before I press it down. And there we go. Let's get that nice even border all the way around. And there we go. Okay, so now we've got our inside piece. Now let's take our front designer series paper, and again I'm gonna put the glue on the gold fabulous side because it was just too much gold. And then I'm just going to put this down here like this with a nice even border on all 4 sides. And before I completely commit with that, I want to make sure that these pieces are lining up, and they're not. So I'm going to pull this up a bit if it's going to let me. Well, it doesn't want to let me. It's not on there quite straight. Hang on. Let me twist. Come on. Liquid glue, you're supposed to give me a second here. There we go. All right, now let's do this. Maybe if I'd have done this, it would have gone where I wanted it to go. All right, there we go. Okay, I'm happier with that. All right, so this is our card so far. Okay, now let's bring back in these pieces. And what I'm going to do with these pieces is I'm going to put them together. And I wonder what I did with my, oops, I need that little insert piece. I'll have to see if I can find it. I'm going to put some glue on the back side of the basic beige. Actually, it doesn't matter which back side you use. I'm going to do the back side of this one, and then I'm going to put these two together, back sides together, and the front sides out. Okay, let me see if I can find that little inside piece. Did I not? Hang on for 1 second. I'm going to go, yep, got one right here. That'll work. Over by the Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine. Ooh, those are white. Those aren't going to work. Okay, well, I might have to take a piece of the basic beige because I really need that. Give me a little piece here. I'm going to fix this. All right, we need that die. And all I'm going to do is take this piece of basic beige, And I'm going to put this in here just so I can get that inner piece. And I need to close up that hole on the back side. So this is how I'm doing it. So I'm just going to put this in here. I'll do this like this. Run this through here. So when you cut yours, hang on to your piece from the designer series paper. Somehow I lost mine. Probably when I was trying to clean up a gigantic mess today. Okay, so we've got that, and now we've got this little piece. We're going to set that aside so I don't lose it. In fact, what we're going to do at this particular moment, I'm going to put these away. I'm going to bring in my silicone mat. I'm going to put in a little bit of my liquid glue, and I'm going to let that sit there for a minute and let that dry. Okay, now let's go ahead and start putting our pieces together here. So we're going to take our tree and we're going to turn this over. I'm going to use some liquid glue. And we're going to glue this in. And let me put this one on the silicone mat. I was kind of hoping that was going to work, but it decided it didn't want to. Okay, so just a little bit of glue there. A little goes a long way. And we're going to put this about right here. Okay, and I've already got some glue on here, so I'm just going to drop this in here. And there we go. And then I'm going to take a SU100 marker. Oh, this one doesn't matter. It's not going to show. Never mind. We need to do that. That is not going to show. And then we're going to take this tree. I'm going to put this down. And the bottom of this tree is not going to show either. I think originally I colored those and then they didn't show, and that's why I was thinking I needed to do it. So we're going to put this one here. Put this in here like so. We've got the two different trees here. Then we're going to take our Santa and some dimensionals. Fingers are a little tiny bit sticky. Okay, and I need to make sure that I don't put anything over here because I'm going to slide in my sentiment. Okay, so we're just going to put this down here like so. Okay. And then we're going to get a piece of basic beige. And we're going to take the sentiment from the Festive Friends that says Santa's coming to town. And we're going to get some cherry cobbler ink. And we're going to ink that up. And let's see, I better do it this direction just to be safe. And that wasn't very good. Let's try that again. There we go, much better. And now we're going to take a sneak peek item, my new favorite punch, the triple banner punch. And I am going to punch this in, I'm going to go this direction though. See how I'm pulling that over? I want to shorten this banner. So I'm going to punch this just like this. Okay. And then we're going to take this and we're going to see how this is going to go. This might be okay right like it's at. Yep, it's going to be fine. I don't need to cut anything else off. We're good. Okay, so now we're going to take this piece and we're going to attach it to this piece right here. So we're going to take and just put one strip, and you could use tear and tape. You need a stronger adhesive. And we're just going to put one strip along that side. And we're going to attach it like so. Okay. And now you'll understand why we put that fold in there. That fold is so that this will bend back easily so we can open the card. Okay, so let's go ahead and finish this up. We're going to add our sentiment. And I'm just going to put a little bit of liquid glue here on the end. And then we're going to tuck this under here and press that down. And then we're going to get our ribbon. What did I do with the ribbon? What do I do with the ribbon? Wow, I can't find it. I know I put it out here with my stuff. There it is. I buried it. We're going to take the mossy meadow and gold trim ribbon. And we're going to tie us a bow. And I'm just going to tie a single bow. You know me, I really like the double bows, but with this ribbon, it's just too thick. And this is has green and gold and then more gold on the back. So we're going to be careful how we tie this and try to keep our ribbons the way they need to go. So I need to have the green this way. There we go. Okay. So I just twisted the backs to get them where I want them to go. Whoops. And now we have our bow and our tails are both going the same color. So we're going to trim that off, trim that off, and then we will take a glue dot or two, straighten that bow out a bit, and put that there. And I really should have done this before I attached it to the front, because now it's going to be a little bit more difficult. Okay. Well, you live and learn here. Hang on just one second. Let me get this. Now I'm going to take that insert piece, which I should have done I should have put the bow on. I guess it's kind of hard no matter what you do because you need to push that in there on top of that um, glue dot, just so you don't have the sticky part of the glue dots going through there, and so it doesn't glue your card shut. Okay, so that's the purpose of that. But you really need to have the bow on before you can stick that in there. So it's kind of hard either way, but it's necessary. Okay, so the final part of this is to take the traditional sparkling sequins, and we're going to add some gold ones here. I'm going to take one of the large gold ones. I'm going to put it up here, and then I'm going to take a smaller one and put it here. Actually, I'm going to pop this out a little bit further, and then I'm going to take one of the medium ones and I'm going to put it down here. Okay, and that is card number 1. All right, so we have that. And then for the envelope, because you know I always do the envelopes, I took and stamped the tree, which is also from Festive Friends. I did that in Old Olive, and then I added a star from the die cut. That's why I didn't have the one, because I put it on the envelope. But just using basic beige works on the back because you're not going to be able to see it anyway. And you get one when you cut out the basic beige tag. So there we have card number 1. Okay, I hope you enjoyed that card. It's kind of different with the elegant paper and the whimsical stamp set, but I do love how it turned out. And that's a really nice fun fold. So let's go ahead and we'll bring in our next one. Now, let me get some things out of the way here because I have a lot of stuff. In the way. Hang on 1 second. I got a mess. I've got so many different projects going that I've got pieces here and there, here and there, here and there. All right, let's go ahead. I think we're done with cherry cobbler, so I'm just going to put that away. We're not done with Festive Friends, and we're not done with Words for the Season, although the inside sentiment for this card is also from that stamp set. Okay, so this time we're going to use the snowman, or the snow. She's going to be a snow girl in my world. So I'm going to show you how I colored her really quick. She has less to color, actually. So for her, we're going to start with Pretty in Pink Dark. And I'm going to flick on some color on the hat. Okay. And then I'm going to go to the Pretty in Pink Light. I'm going to fill that in. Okay. And then we'll do the scarf. And we're just going to flick in a little bit of color here. And then fill it in with the light. Okay. And for the nose, we're going to use Dark Peach Pie and Light Pumpkin Pie. And then we're going to add a little bit of pool party just to put in some shadow on our snow person here. Okay, so just a little bit of shadow. And there we go. And then I'm going to put just a little bit of shadow here on the ground. And that is our coloring for our snow person. And then we're going to take our Wink of Stella. Again, come on, Wink of Stella. And we're going to put in some Wink. And we're going to put in a little bit of Wink where that shadow is. And right here on the bowl. There we go. Heck. Can't have too much sparkle on a snow girl. Okay, there we go. So again, she has a die. And we would cut her up. No, well, not with the Santa one, we wouldn't. We would cut her out with the snowman one. Okay. And then we also need to do a little bit more stamping here. So we're going to take from Delicate Pines, which is the stamp set we used last week, right here. We're going to take and stamp this snowflake right here. And we need 6 of those. We need 3. This is our color palette, by the way. We need 3 in Pretty in Pink and 3 in Pretty Peacock. So you would stamp all of those. Okay. And we'll get the Pretty in Pink out of there. So you're going to stamp 3 of each. Okay. I'm not going to do all that. And then you need to stamp in cherry or in Real Red. I took the bow, and this one comes from Magic and Hope. This is the most beautiful bow, and I think this is quite overlooked. We're also going to use the Noel here. Are we doing that? No, not on this project. Never mind. We will be using that, but not on this one. Okay, and then we're going to stamp our bow. And then we need our sentiment. Okay, so our sentiment is going to be stamped in Pretty Peacock on a piece of white. So let's do that. And our sentiment is, we wish you a Merry Christmas. So we're going to stamp that down here, about like that. Okay. So that's all of our pieces that we need to die cut. So you would need to die cut 3 of these and 3 of these. You need to die cut that, and you need to die cut the snowman. And I already have that all done. So here are our snowflakes. Okay. I'm going to set those aside for a minute. And then we're going to get, here's our snow person and our bow. And let's go ahead and bring in our main stamping piece right here. So we have to do some more stamping, but this time we don't need to die cut. So we're going to set these ink pads aside. We're done with those for the moment. You're going to take a piece of non-Stampin' Up paper, or you could use Stampin' Up paper if you want to, and with the 2.5 inch circle punch, not the 2 3/8, the 2.5. Where's my 2.5 inch punch? Oh, here it is. The 2.5 inch punch. You want the larger circle, okay? 2.5 inch punch. Just punch out a piece of cardstock, okay? Then I'm gonna get this off of here. Ooh, oh. Let's get all this off. I think I lost some snowflakes. Nope, there they are. Okay, let's go ahead and get all this off of here. I don't want that on there. That's how easy it is to take the glue off of your silicone mat and why I love it so much. Okay, so I'm going to lay this on here. Let me get rid of that. I'm going to lay this on here. This is a piece of 3 3/4 inch by 5 inch basic white. I'm going to take this circle and I'm going to put it in the top 2/3, trying to get an even border on the two sides and the top. Okay? Doesn't have to be perfect. I'm going to take a pencil and I'm going to trace a circle lightly. And I'm going to try not to move my circle. Doesn't have to be perfect. This is just a guide. And then I'm going to set that aside. And now we're going to start stamping. So I'm going to bring in my secret C. And I'm going to take the fern branch, or the bough branch from Delicate Pines. And I'm going to take my secret C ink. And I'm going to lay this right on the circle, top and bottom, okay? And then I'm just going to go around the circle, connecting those and trying to stay within that circle that I drew, okay? And if it helps you to turn your paper, then you should do so. Okay, so I'm gonna go like this, right there, like that. Okay, so now I've got that. I'm going to close up my secret C, and I'm going to start with cloud cover, but I gotta clean. My cloud cover I'm going to use as filler, okay? But I don't want to go from dark to light in the ink pad without cleaning. So I'm going to go back and I'm going to start, and I'm going to add in the cloud cover and just keep going around the circle. And this really isn't going to show a lot, but it does add a lot of texture, and it makes your wreath look a whole lot fuller. Okay, so there's what we have. All right. Now, before we start adding pieces on here, let's put our card base together. So I've got a piece of cloud cover cardstock for my card base, 5.5 by 8.5, scored at 4 1/4. It's a standard A2 size card. And it looks like I might not have done a great job at that, so I'm going to fix that in the burnish. Okay, there we go. Now that looks pretty good. And then we're going to add this piece. This comes from the 6x6 in color 25 to 27 in color paper pack. And this is the secret C. So I'm going to add this piece to my card base. That's my base layer. Just going to try to put an even border. Okay. Now, let's bring back in this piece. And we're going to take a piece of cardstock. Any cardstock, doesn't matter. Just needs to be wider than your 3 3/4. So I'm going to take this. This is the same weight of cardstock that I used for the circle. And I'm just going to rip this. Okay, just like so. Oh, wait a minute. What am I doing? No, I actually am going to do it this. No, I don't. Never mind. I did it wrong. That's how I did it on the different project again. Silly me. Okay, I've got 2 pieces of basic white, and this one's the same size. Okay, so I'm gonna rip this one. Let's rip this one first. Rip this one. This is going to be my larger layer. Okay, and I'm going to put this here like so. And then I'm going to rip this one. So I can kind of get an idea of what I need here. And then I'm going to attach this like this. But before we do that, we're going to have to do some trimming, and we want to do some ink blending. We're going to give this some texture. So I'm going to bring back in the cloud cover ink. And I'm going to take my blending brush. And I'm going to put some ink on here. Heavier at the top. And then we're going to go down here, and we're going to do the same thing over here. Okay. But I want it to be heavier where the drifts are. All right, so we've got that. Then again, we're going to bring in our wreath of Stella. And along that torn edge is where I'm putting my wreath of Stella. So it looks like when the light hits the drift, it sparkles. Okay, I'm going to take this piece and I'm going to add this in here. So let's just go ahead and put some Stampin' Seal there. Maybe should have gone a little bit higher. I want to be below my wreath a bit, like that. I'm going to line that up so it'll be easier to cut later. Okay, that looks pretty good. And then I'm going to take this piece and I'm going to add this here along the bottom edge of my card. And this one, hang on, move it just a tidbit because I cut this one 3 3/4. So I need to make sure this lines up in this corner. And then it'll line up on that corner. Okay, now we're just going to take this and flip it over. Cut off the excess there. And now we have some snowbanks at the bottom. Okay, now we're ready to start putting this whole thing together. Okay, we're going to add this to our card front now. Just like this. Okay, now let's bring in our die cut pieces. We're going to put our snow gal right here. And we're going to put our bow, and I'm going to give this a little flick with my thumbnail. Not too hard because I don't want to rip it, but I do want to give it some dimension. And then I'm going to take a mini dimensional here. I'm going to put that right in the middle of that bow. And I think I'll put another one right there. I don't want to go any lower because I want those ribbons to dangle. Okay, so we're just going to stick this up here on our wreath like that. And then we're going to add a snowflake here. But before we do that, we're going to bring in our black Stampin' Pierce mat or a foam pad, something like that. And we're going to put all 6 of these snowflakes on here. And we're going to give them each a nice press in the center to puff those up and give them some dimension. Okay. I'm going to take and I'm going to set these where I want them to go, and then I'll pick them up one by one and put some glue dots on them. I don't want to put the glue dots on now because I don't want to set them down and have them stick. Okay, so we're going to go kind of like this. Just alternating left and right with the colors. And that one's going to go under there, kind of like that. Okay, so let's get our glue dots. And actually, I like to do it this way. I find I can put my glue dot in the center better. And then I can just lift it up with my take your pick tool. Well, that didn't work out very good. Let's get rid of that extra. And then we can put those down. I'm not pressing just in case I want to move them. And I'm trying to not put all of my snowflakes in the same direction. If that makes any sense. I don't want all of the boughs straight up and down. Okay. All right, so we're going to put that right there. I'm going to get rid of that, and then I'm going to give those a press. So I'm pretty happy with that. I still didn't press them down super hard, just in case I want to move them. And then I'm going to take my snow lady here. And Put some dimensionals on her. Add her right down here like so. Okay, a little bit more up like that. And the last thing that we need to add stamping wise is our sentiment. So let's go ahead and grab that piece that we stamped. Okay, so I've got that. And again, I'm going to use that triple banner punch. And I'm going to cut this because I don't want to cut into my snowman. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to cut it right there. And I know I cut one of the snowflakes, but it's okay. Now I can take and put this in here. And I'm going to shorten this one too. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start over here again. Or I'm going to start, yeah, I'm going to start over here on this side. So I have more to hold over here. And I'm going to punch that. I'm going to line it up and I'm going to punch it. And of course it's going to lock because, okay, if that happens to you, drop it gently. Come on. There we go. And it'll pop back out. I got that just a little bit too wide. Do you see that? And so it didn't want to pop out of there. Okay, so now I'm going to take this side and I'm going to put it in on here. And notice how I dropped that on this pad because you don't want to drop it on your glass mat and you don't want to drop it right on the counter. And then I'm going to take a look at that and I'm going to try to get an even border here on both sides. And now I've shortened that so that it's going to fit what I need. Okay, so again, I'm going to do that. And I'm going to do this, just a little bit of a gap there. Okay, and then we're going to take this and I'm going to put one mini dimensional in the middle and then I'm going to glue on the ends. Okay, so I'm going to put one there and then I'm going to put a little bit of glue here and here. And then I'm going to add this right in here. Try to put that straight. And by putting that mini dimensional in the center, that's not going to let that pop down. Okay, so it's still going to give it a little bit of dimension. All right, the last thing we need to do to the front of this card is to grab the real red and white peppermint, what are they called? Real red and white adhesive backed peppermints. And I'm going to take the smallest ones. Oh, wrong. Take your pick. I'm going to take the smallest ones. I'm going to put those in the center of my pretty in pink snowflakes, like so. All right. That is the front of our card. Oh, look, you guys, I had a piece cut for the sentiment so it wouldn't get stuck. I feel like I'm floundering tonight. Just a little bit off kilter, I guess. Okay, so I've taken for the inside, I've stamped 3 of those snowflakes in Pretty in Pink with that words from the season sentiment. Taken an offcut from the designer series paper, a little 1/2 inch cut down there, and I'm going to add this to the inside of my card. Now this is light cardstock and you wouldn't necessarily have to add the piece, but I always add a white piece. All right, and then for this envelope, I took and stamped that tree in Pretty in Peacock, put a Pretty in Pink snowflake at the top, and then I stamped that real red bow on the back. All right, those are my projects for tonight. I hope you like those cards. Okay, let's bring back in the first one so you can see those. And that is what I have for you this evening. Please join me again on Thursday night on my YouTube channel. I'll give you a little sneak peek of the project. There we go. And there's your sneak peek. Just a quick little sneak peek. So be sure and join me again there. And if not, you can always watch it on the replay. And I will see you back here on Facebook next Tuesday night at 7 p.m. Good night, everybody. Have a great week. Thanks. I love all your responses. That's so sweet.